Welcome back to the show. Just in case you're just joining us, this is Rubbin Minds. Don't forget you can still join the conversation using the hashtag Rubbin Minds. Tweet at us at YNigerTV and on Instagram we are at YNigerTelevision. Moving over to the last discourse for today, we'll be taking in focus the Shiite crisis. We all know that the members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria has been protesting against the continuous detention of their leader, Ibrahim El-Zakzaky, and his wife. With me in the studio, I have the ADP Publicity Secretary for Lagos State, Adeoye Adelaja. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
So let's talk about the continuous detainment of El-Zakzaky. Why has he not been released?
Well, the federal government of Nigeria, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, for whatever reason, has continued to keep Sheikh El-Zakzaky in detention against ECOWAS and so many other court rulings that free him from detention, because there is no actual offense pinned to him, because they tried to pin terrorism and so many other things, but all of these things are not working. They are just Shiite Muslim, like every other religious sect in the country. We have Sunni Muslim, and they are conducting their activities peacefully across the country without any hindrance, without forcefully imposing it on every other faith in the country. So that is how they also have been conducting themselves in the country. But for whatsoever, because if you look at pre-2015 election, we see politicians going to his place in Zaria, going to seek for his endorsement, even including President Buhari and the current governor of Kaduna State, Mr. El-Rufai. You understand? So we don't now know what suddenly happened, that they turned to enemy and they picked him. The followers are demonstrating every day in the country. So we are now saying that we are calling on the government. We have been calling on government to free this guy, because we don't want the detention to continue to create tension in the country. You see, we knew how Boko Haram started in this country.
Yeah.
We don't want to travel through the same journey any longer. So that's what I'm saying. Free is their leader. Let them go back. This is a country. Nobody can outrun our country because of religion or ethnicity or whatever. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? They have to conduct themselves. Whatever they are doing, the government must always let them have the feeling that this is a sovereign nation, that they must not overstep their bound. You understand? That is what we're expecting from the government, to tell the Shiite, the Sunni, even the Christian and every other religion in the country. But continue to detain him is increasing the agitation. Just last week here, they were still in Abuja. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Protesting, creating panic situation in Abuja. They even came out and said they are ready to sacrifice over 20 million of their members. You understand? To ensure that their leaders are released. We see how exchange between them and the security forces and all those things. So we don't want this thing to snowball into something that will be chaotic, that will not be easy for government to control in the country. So that's why we're calling on the government. Let this guy be. Let him go. Leave him from the detention, so that there can be peace in the country.
Currently, just like you said, a lot of Shiite members have been losing their lives over the course of this agitation. How would the government navigate through this crisis? Because as far as we are concerned, of course, every single Nigerian has their right to. They have the freedom of worship, and they have their right to the religion they want to subscribe to.
Exactly.
So how can we truly navigate through this crisis? Because we can't keep losing Nigerians. There were first Nigerians before they became Shiite members. So how can we navigate through this crisis?
That is what we're saying. There has to be engagement between the religious body and the government. It is, if we have proper engagement between the two of them, the government and the religious body, we are going to navigate through it. He has been, detained for the past over 3 years in detention, and court are saying, let this guy go, but he's still in the detention. Okay, what we are now saying is that religious body are speaking up, the civil society group are speaking up. Let this guy go. This guy, when you free him, there has to be monitoring, you understand, to ensure that there's no crisis post is released and all those things. So those are the things we're expecting government to put in place, because anger is higher among their members. They claim they have over 20 million members across the country. So you can imagine someone controlling over 20 million people. You understand? So the agitation is there now, but we know that by the time government let him go from detention, he and his wife, El-Zakzaky, let them go, I'm sure the agitation will reduce.
Well, calm down. Do you think there's a reason why the government has not released him?
Well, when the competent court say release someone, government is not bigger than the law. Okay? So that is why we are saying that the government must show example to every other Nigerian.
Executives now.
Government must show example.
Yeah.
Government must always show example.
When you say government, because even the court is part of the government.
Federal government must show example, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, that we have to obey the law. That's what we're saying. The law say free this guy. Government is not yielding. You understand, to the demand of the court.
So basically, even the executive have not been obeying the judiciary.
That's obviously that's what's happening, because when court say free him and you're not freeing him, so that means the government is not obeying the law.
One of the mandates in which our president Muhammadu Buhari ran for his re-election is security, and considering the herdsmen crisis, the Shiite agitation, would you say that he has actually done well in the area of security? Well, in the area of security, I'm aware that government is making efforts, to ensure that some of these things are stemmed, so that there is no crisis in the country, manage, every agitation coming up. But what we are saying is that government need to be more proactive in some of these things that is happening. Look at what just happened recently in Ore, where some armed bandits, some say they are Fulani S-men, came out and started shooting at a car. So it's because of security. It's because of security lapses that we have. Because that's not the first time. That's not the first time such thing is happening on that route. Okay.
So we are expecting that videos and all those things are online for people to see. So we're expecting government to take proactive measure. They don't need to wait for what happened, the ugly incident that happened before they could come up and beef up security. True. But right now, because someone that is popular, it happened to someone that is popular. We are now speaking of vice president is now saying that they are going to deploy soldiers to man the federal road and all those things like that. So we don't need to wait for someone that is popular before we take the proactive measure that is going to secure the life of every Nigerian across the country.
For the course of this show, please, I will also want you to refrain from certain words. Yes, please, we use the word herdsmen and not what you just said, because herdsmen could also mean, herdsmen could also be, some parts of other Nigerians could also be herdsmen, so we don't attribute a particular tribe to herdsmen, just moving forward. So you've actually said that the government should release, of course, obey the court orders and release the Shiite leader. When and if, I'm hoping that the government releases him, how do we plan a reconciliation? Because if the government, or when the government releases him, definitely we don't know what the Shiites might be planning. So how do we organize a reconciliation? Because apparently they are not happy with the federal government. They are still not happy with the federal government. So how do we organize a reconciliation moving forward?
Well, what they're asking for now is for them to release their leader, okay? Because we cannot preempt what they're going to do. Remember when the former South African president was released from prison, okay, that he later became president. The first thing he did was to rally people around. That's spirit of forgiveness. You understand what I'm saying? And I believe these Shiite people, they also, they are serving the living God. You understand? So they have a spirit of forgiveness in their doctrine. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't expect them, or rather, Nigerians don't expect them that when their leader is let go from the prison and they started creating chaos in the country. So that means it will now come back to the agitation, what some people are saying, that they are violent, they are this, they are that. Yeah. If they should toe that path, because Nigerians want peace and there shall be peace.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Hero Daniels. Thank you for watching.